support for the employed bar. I'm sorry that we're not in the House of Lords this evening for our special dinner, which we've had to postpone for next year. But let's not let the virus prevent us from celebrating the remarkable achievements of BACFI over these 55 years. I'd like to welcome and introduce some special guests. We've got Amanda Pinto, who's chair of the Bar Council here. We've got Lady Hale joining us this evening. And we've also got a number of past chairs and vice presidents present, including Nicholas D, Michael Blair, Austin Allison, Ros White, Christian, Tricia Howes, Lucinda Orr. We've also got Helen Fletcher Rogers here and many others that we have all seen at when we could meet for events. So that's great that you're all here this evening. I'll just share with you the agenda for this evening. So we're going to have a last word on, sadly, some vice chairs and president and chairs that have unfortunately passed away since Christmas. Then we're just going to do about the history of BACFI a little bit. We've got a special announcement. Amanda is going to say a few words, followed by Lady Hale, and then Grant will say a few final words, and then we'll have an open forum where you can all chat, share nostalgia, anecdotes, and any comments you want to make over a nice drink. So it should be a good evening. So let's move to last word. Is Michael, is Nicholas D here?
No, he's not.
Okay. Well, we've got two vice presidents who I'd like to mention, and then Nicholas is going to talk about Tim Duggan, who's only recently passed away. We've got Harry Mitchell QC, who passed away after a short illness on the 20th of December, and Bernard Kelly QC, who passed away suddenly on the 11th of February. Both were great supporters of BACFI over many years and enjoyed their vice president status, along with meeting up with friends and colleagues at social events. Harry studied at Cambridge for a BA Modern Languages and a Law Tripos Part 2 in 1953. He was Assistant District Commissioner and Magistrate in Sierra Leone between 1954 and 1959. He was a Company Secretary for Turner and Newell in India, 1960 to 64. He was called to the bar at Gray's Inn in 1968. His career included being a legal manager and executive director at Hawker Siddeley Aviation, and then a company secretary at Wellcome PLC and the Wellcome Foundation from 76 to 92. He was a BACFI committee member from 1976 to 1992 and a chairman of BACFI from 1984 to 1985. He became a BACFI vice president in 1985 and was appointed Queen's Counsel in 1987. He then became a part-time immigration judge in 1992 until 2002 and an honorary legal advisor at Migration Watch. Bernard was called to Gray's Inn in 1957, practiced as a barrister and solicitor in British Columbia, Canada, after working for ICI. He then joined the legal department of Mobil Oil Company Limited in London, becoming legal advisor and later director of MOCL and associated companies until 1994. He served as chairman of BACFI 1985 to 1986. He was appointed an honorary QC in 1991 and served as a part-time chairman of employment tribunals for 10 years from 1994. So I'm sure many of you remember those individuals. And as I say, Tim Duggan sadly passed away very recently. And when Nicholas joins us on the call. He wants to say a few words about it.
Well, I, for one, will miss them all. They were jolly good fun and extremely convivial companions.
Yes.
I didn't know much about them when they were chairman, but afterwards, very good value, all of them.
Good.
Much missed.
Yes, let's raise a glass. And now a little bit of history about BACFI. BACFI was formed due to the fact that prior to the year 2000, if a barrister was employed as an in-house counsel, they were barred from being an advocate in senior courts, classed as non-practicing, and there were many restrictive practices in favour of the self-employed bar, which put employed bar at a considerable disadvantage. Employed barristers were effectively treated as not being real barristers, and there was a real need for an organisation that could lobby the Bar Council to enact change to the Bar Code of Conduct. On the 1st of July 1964, at the AGM of the Bar Council, David Fletcher Rogers proposed that a committee be formed to have regard to the position of non-practising barristers. The Attorney General has accepted the resolution, and the Bar Council formed what became known as the Rawdon Temple Committee. The Rawdon Temple Committee issued a report in October 1964 favouring a barristers' association catering for those in commerce and industry, and this was supported by the Bar Council, who offered assistance with the formation. Brian Russell, having heard of the resolution, wrote to David. They met with Anthony Kitch and John Jenkins, who worked with Brian. These four agreed to form an association with John acting as secretary. David's resolution received press coverage, and non-practicing barristers were contacting the Bar Council, who passed names on to them. They formed an association with 11 founder members, and around 120 barristers attended the inaugural meeting on the 21st of June 1965, of which Brian was elected chairman, Anthony vice chairman, John secretary, and David treasurer. The remainder of the founders were elected to the committee and joined by 3 others. The Earl of Kilmuir PC became the first president. The first committee meeting was held on the 19th of July, and by the end of that year there were 144 members. As a result of the hard work over the years by BACFI through lobbying and working with the Bar Council, finally in the year 2000 employed barristers were granted equal practising rights with the self-employed and gained 14 elected seats on the Bar Council. In 2004, BACFI merged with the Employed and Non-Practising Barristers Association. So that's a little potted history of our association. I don't know if any of you remember those days. It's funny because it was formed the year I was born.
Must.
Pardon?
Mike Blair must. Ros must. They're not prepared to reveal their age.
I joined in 1969 when I joined the DPP's office, and it was 5 years old then, so I didn't join right at the beginning, but pretty soon after.
Oh, that's amazing! Yeah.
Before a lot of
I'm a youngster. I only joined in 1987 on leaving the civil service.
And I was born in 1965, so so yes.
Yes.
So any other memories of that time at all, Michael or Ros? What sort of things did we get up to?
It was a very serious organisation in 1969. I remember being very overawed by all these barristers in commerce, finance and industry. And there I was, a civil servant, and I felt, you know, I felt very much deprived of all this experience and knowledge that you all had. I was very overawed by you all.
My main comment would be that at the time I joined in '87, that was almost at the end of the period of struggling to get recognition. And most of the changes that have benefited the employed bar in recent years have come about since I was chairman in 1990 to 91, and I have very little to claim for those improvements.
I must say, everybody worked extremely hard. I remember one of the directors saying to me, why are you all so exercised by your lack of rights of audience? What are you going to do with them when you get them as a civil servant? And I said, I'm just going to stick them on my mantelpiece, just like everybody else who's been called to the bar. And I think that kind of sums up the attitude. Some of the younger members will not realise that you had to disbar yourself if you went to work for a firm of solicitors, or, God forbid, aspired to be a partner in a firm of solicitors. It was absolutely disgraceful, and we used to call those things Spanish practices when we regarded dockies and print workers, but used a rather more graceful term for barristers, but restrictive practices they certainly were, and disgraceful. Thank God they've gone.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been for BACFI, the employed bar would still be considered failed barristers. That's what they were when I joined.
Well, certainly second-class citizens, very much so. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember one of the themes of one of the bar conferences was one bar, which was intended to be both practicing, well, self-employed and employed barristers all together. And this was thought to be quite revolutionary. I mean, that we had to have a theme for the bar conference like that, just to show that we were on equal terms with self-employed barristers. And that's not that long ago.
No, no.
It certainly isn't, and I'm rather hoping Amanda will be saying that things are different now.
Well, I joined BACFI in 1992, and I was a commercial pupil, and I actually had a commercial pupillage. So I did my first 6 months in chambers and my second 6 months pupil to a barrister that was an in-house legal counsel for GEC Plessy Telecoms, Andrew James, who still is he may be on here tonight, who's still an in-house counsel, I believe, in Southampton. So you know, it was wonderful to be able to do that pupillage, and then I just stayed on in industry as in-house counsel. So yeah, and I wish we could do more commercial pupillages in the future.
Well, Ian, that's what BACFI's always advocated as the way forward, and it's the perfect training for either or. You do your second 6 months in commercial chambers if you think that you're going to stay at the self-employed bar, and you move on if you're not, and make your contacts and get your experience outside. Mm-hmm. And if somebody wants to try either or because they haven't made their mind up, then they do one of each and then decide. Mm. It's a perfect arrangement. And when Helen and I organised a meeting at Gray's Inn with a number of people several years ago now, there were chambers in the Temple and Gray's who were absolutely up for doing split pupillages, 3 months, 4 months, send their own pupils, i.e. the ones they intended to keep, into industry for a few months, back again, so that they could be completely and utterly transferable skills. And that's just died a death, and it needs reviving, quite frankly, but I'm too old to bash my head against a brick wall.
You're never too old, Patricia.
Oh, is that Patrick? Good to hear your dulcet tones.
Yeah, no, apologies for joining late. I've just had a hell of a day, so I'm about to have my lunch. So I thought I'd join in while I was supping on my soup.
Well, is Sandra, has Helen joined us? Helen Rogers?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Hi, Helen. Good. Hello. So, a special announcement.
Are you sticking your video on, Ian, or are you hiding yourself?
I'm on video, as far as I'm aware.
Are you? I must admit, there must be a problem with my thing.
Can the other people see me?
Yes,
Yes, he's
Yes,
better
we can
dressed
all
than
see
you
you.
are.
Yeah.
Hello, Helen.
So in order to
There you are.
yeah,
Sorry.
to mark the 55th year of the creation of BACFI, we have decided to establish a new special award, which we're going to call the BACFI Fellowship. The BACFI Fellowship is a lifetime achievement award presented by BACFI in recognition of outstanding achievement in supporting the professional development of employed barristers and other unregistered barristers working in commerce, finance and industry and law firms. The award will be the highest honour that BACFI can bestow and will be awarded at the discretion of the General Committee, but nominations will be welcome from any members of BACFI. The recipient of the award will be known as a Fellow of BACFI and will receive an engraved trophy.
Wow.
So the first award, we are pleased to announce who the recipient is. And the recipient is Helen Rogers.
Hooray!
Especially for the
Hooray!
The General Committee have decided this year to bestow the first award to Helen Rogers, who has done so much to remove the restrictions placed on the employed bar and change the bar code of conduct, which has prevented many employed barristers from developing their practice and careers. Helen has worked for BACFI tirelessly for many years, working with the Bar Council and the Bar Standards Board to ensure that the bar code of conduct is fair to the employed bar. Helen has also helped many individual members to gain their practicing certificates when waivers were required from the BSB. I believe after Helen was called to the bar in Gray's Inn, she spent most of her career as an in-house lawyer with Kodak, becoming European General Counsel. She served on the BSB Qualifications Committee for 6 years and is still liaising with the BSB on pupillage issues. She's a member of the Council of the BIICL and is a secretary of a number of charities. Helen herself was a pioneer employed barrister who, when she left in employment, set herself up as a freelance legal consultant, overcoming the restrictions by setting up her own barristers' chambers, of which she was the sole tenant. So it is with great privilege and honour to award this to Helen. And Sandra can show you your trophy.
Well done.
Congratulations.
It's great.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
Well, thank you.
Well done.
Well done. It's fantastic. I really appreciate it. And I was going to say that the work isn't done yet, and there's a lot of work still to do. I'm sure Tricia will endorse that. And so we are going to rely on the General Committee and BACFI to carry on the good work, because although we did a lot, as you know, Ian, there's quite a lot left to do, particularly in respect of practicing rights for people who are, probably the Bar Council would say, in unconventional ways of practicing. So go to it, and we'll be interested to see your progress.
Yes, thank you, Helen. So, yes. Right, well, I'll now hand over to Amanda, who's going to say a few words on behalf of the Bar Council.
Muted, yeah.
Thank you, and thank you very much for inviting me to your annual party. It's always great, and it's a pleasure to be here in such illustrious company. The idea that anyone could consider you second-class citizens needs to come and look at those on my screen. This year has been a momentous one for justice, for Britain, and for the bar. And so before we talk about your anniversary, may I just dwell on some of the things that I believe has brought us together as a bar. As you said, it wasn't until 2000 that employed barristers were granted equal practicing rights with the self-employed. And when we look back at that now, we think, I believe, how extraordinary, how ridiculous. And it just shows you, I think, what we need to go through to get to a place which seems sensible. And this year, above all others, I think the things that have brought us together have been really kind of high level things, like a commitment to getting the best justice for our clients, whether they are at another place in the EU or elsewhere overseas or here. Obviously, COVID, overcoming the difficulties of the pandemic, for people in-house, for our companies, for our government, for courts and the process. And standing up for what we know is right for our clients, be it how justice is delivered, how we balance in-person or remote hearings, how we give advice to people, how we get the message across when we can't be in the same room as them. And of course, engaging positively with our overseas friends and colleagues has never been more important. As I leave the Bar Council chairship on the 31st of December, we leave the EU, and at the moment it's looking pretty rocky as to whether or not that will be with any deal at all. And I know that many members of BACFI have been standing up for the rule of law. Of course, the Bar Council has done a lot with you and others over the years to stand up for the rule of law overseas when we see it under attack. And it's been shocking to see it happening closer to home. But I believe the Bar Council is working more closely than ever with the employed bar. All 17,000 barristers were invited to take part in our COVID-19 surveys. I know it affected and still affects employed barristers as well as self-employed. And we've joined forces on ensuring that the employed bar is as well represented as ever on the Bar Council. And engagement is incredibly high. As you may know, this year we've just closed the ability to stand for election, and in the category of employed juniors over 7 years call, there are 3 places and 8 people are standing for that category. That's excellent news. And this year's bar conference has probably got more employed barristers speaking than ever before, even in the one bar conference. So we grow closer and closer, and that is, I think, to our mutual benefit, as much to the benefit of the self-employed part of the profession as to you. I want to thank Ian very much for all his support at the Bar Council. I want to congratulate Helen on getting the inaugural award of Fellow of BACFI. That's a fantastic achievement. And congratulations to Patrick for winning an employed bar award. And I have to say, it was the most amazing year of talent. I couldn't believe all of the entries. They were just superb. So well done to Patrick. Grant for being a tower of support to the Bar Council as treasurer this year, though I'm slightly concerned at the lengths he's gone to get away. And I finally want to add I love the idea that the only thing that stopped him going to Australia is a pandemic. Otherwise, he'd be there like a flash. I also want to add my very best wishes for your 55th anniversary. Anniversaries are important because they help us recall where we've come from. And you, Ian, have just told us a potted history. And at the time that we're trying to move forward and make improvements, it's sometimes hard to appreciate those incremental steps. But by looking back 55 years, you can see where you've come from. And I look forward to many more anniversaries of BACFI to come. And thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Amanda. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To BACFI.
BACFI, yes.
To BACFI. Ian, may I add one thing to Amanda's, and that is that if anybody still says that employed barristers are not independent, I would like to drink to Jonathan Jones, a bencher of Middle Temple,
absolutely.
Formerly the Treasury Solicitor, who has resigned on a point of principle over the rule of law that this government seemed to be determined to ride roughshod over. And I support him, and I'm sure all of BACFI does.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
So somebody, I hope, will find him a nice job.
Is he a member of BACFI?
We ought to approach him.
He
So,
certainly judged the Employed Bar Awards for many years.
Oh, yes.
And did Middle Temple advocacy too.
Yes, yes.
Where with Christian Valenceau, he co-wrote the entire module that Middle Temple used so successfully.
And they still use it. They still use it.
Newly qualifieds get a taste of both sides of the profession, or all sides of the profession.
Very good too.
Yes, good. Right, is Lady Hale here? I don't.
She isn't, Ian. No.
Right. Okay. Well, shall we move on to Grant, who's going to say a few words? Grant, are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Ian. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. So I had lunch with an old friend today, and when the conversation turned to this evening, I explained that we were having this celebration of 55 years of BACFI. And she asked me, what does BACFI stand for? Now that got me thinking. And I know for some of us, it could be Barolo, Amarone, Champagne, Fleury, and the inevitable intoxication. And you all know who you are. But what BACFI stands for me, well, I think the B is so clearly for benevolent. There's always support readily and freely available. I have benefited from that help and support at every stage of my career over the last 30 years. The A has to stand for acceptance. We've always been an organisation where everyone is welcome, and we have diversity and inclusion at the heart of everything that we do. And the C is so clearly for champion. BACFI has always championed the issues of the employed bar. We ensure that their voice is heard across the inns, the bar council, as Amanda had commented this evening, the bar standards board, as well as numerous consultations. And we've heard from Michael, Roz and Patricia this evening that it's actually in our DNA. And as Helen has rightly challenged us to, we have to continue that work and that championing of the issues of the employed bar. It's not over yet. The F, I think, has to be for friendship. And maybe also in honour of Helen this evening, I'll call it fellowship. Those social events and those networks where we support each other. There's always a friendly welcome. Everyone is willing to lend an ear when needed. And you can be guaranteed, like everyone at the bar, if one person does not know the answer, they have a friend who does. And that friend can be a self-employed barrister, an employed barrister, or somebody outside the profession. They will always get you to the right person. Then I think there's the I, that final letter in BACFI. Well, actually, as we know, there are 3 I's in BACFI, and they sum up that benevolent, accepting, championing, and very friendly association that BACFI is. And those 3 I's are our shared values of independence, inclusion, and integrity. So may I just at this final point take the opportunity to ask you to raise your glass as I propose a toast to our values of independence, inclusion, and integrity.
You're here.
Here, here. Independence, inclusion, and integrity.
Yes, we'll put that as our motto.
Which I can still say after half a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc.
Let's see after the next half.
Excellent. So let me hand back to our 4th I, which is Ian, to carry on with the evening.
That's a very smooth handover. Yeah, so now I just open the floor to everyone to, if they've got any anecdotes, comments, any funny stories from BACFI, I don't know. Feel free to speak.
Can I just perhaps I'll start. I mean, it's something that's only just occurred to me actually based upon what Tricia said. Hi, it's Dan. It's essentially I recall I've been an employed barrister in law firms for pretty much all of my career. And I remember pretty early on, I had a bit of a crisis because I did feel the weight of independence upon me, but also the loyalty to my employer. And there came a moment when I felt that I had to depart from what my employer partners of the law firm were advising or failing to advise. And it put me in a bit of a difficult position. And I mean, thankfully, I was able to deal with it internally by going to different people and saying what I felt I would have to do if I couldn't deal with it internally. But it's interesting being a creature of the independent bar but employed does raise some, I think, different challenges. And I think it's really very helpful that BACFI exists to be able to help guide people through that. And I didn't know about BACFI at the time, but it seems to me that is pretty much central to navigating that path. But I completely second exactly what Tricia said about remaining independent and having that spirit as being key. And I think it's one of the things that binds the bar together. So I just mentioned that as a very short anecdote that occurred to me when Tricia was speaking. And if anybody wants to build on that, feel free.
Yeah.
I think I would like to add to that. Actually, when Tricia was talking about being second-class citizens, I absolutely felt like that. And very early on in my employed bar career, I joined BACFI, and quite frankly, I don't know what I would have done without BACFI, because you could almost forget that you're a barrister. And BACFI helped me to keep my foot in the door, keep up to date on what was going on that was relevant to me, because I am very sad to say that independent barristers did look down on you. And even the last few years where I had the bar pro bono committee, I was trying to advance the employed bar in terms of, what the bar standard was trying to do. And I still felt like a second-class citizen to some extent, because I think there is still a long way to go. The BACFI has a big role to continue to fill. And as independent barristers, we have to support the cause, because we are BACFI and we have to do that work, and we have to stand up and be counted and, add to whatever it is that needs to be done ourselves, because we all come from different parts of industry and commerce, and we have different areas of expertise, and our voice really, really does need to be heard. So cheers to BACFI, and especially can I call out to Sandra. Sandra.
Yes, Sandra.
Cheers to that.
We couldn't survive without Sandra.
Yeah, she may not have been with us for 55 years, but sometimes it feels like it, I must say. You are our continuity.
Sandra, how have you been with BACFI?
How long, Sandra? I think you're on mute.
Sorry, 13 years, I think, just over 13 years.
Always smiling as well.
I must say, we need to hire Suella Braverman, don't we, really? I don't know her at all. Does anybody know her?
No, who? Sorry.
The new Attorney General. Oh, I think he's being boxed into a bad corner, bless her, and is probably too young to realise that it's happening to her.
Tricia, I served on the Young Bar Committee with her for several years.
And?
And we had known each other prior to that through various political organisations as well. So I've known her for probably, God, like 17, 18 years now, since she was a student.
But is she having a bad time, or you wouldn't know?
She's remarkably upbeat, that's what I will say.
Okay. We'll be here when she gets sacked. Why isn't Stephen Bacon here? Is he all right? Does anybody know?
Yes, we unfortunately had apologies, didn't we, Sandra, from Stephen?
Yes.
Yes, we had. Sandra noted who had sent.
Austin as well. Austin couldn't join us, but sent his best wishes.
I was trying to persuade Christiane to leave her her bank of computers, but it obviously hasn't worked.
Oh, I'm so.
No, she's not here. No.
We've actually got a message from Austin, which I can read out, which I think is quite interesting. I've left it until almost the last minute to give myself the best chance of participating, but I'm still struggling after a rather unpleasant procedure yesterday and will have to miss this evening's event. Please pass on my apologies and best wishes for what I'm sure will be a successful and enjoyable event. I was chairman in 1995, halfway through the 50 years we're now celebrating. The highlight for me that year was the wonderful Denning lecture by Lord Savile, the subject of which was the forthcoming Arbitration Act 1996. He had been the principal driving force of that legislation, having devised and carried through many significant changes to the Department of Trade and Industry Draft Bill of 1994. Lincoln Inn's Old Hall was packed for the lecture, fully sold out, including standing room. The Denning lecture is BACFI's flagship, but there's so much more to BACFI. Educational events, seminars, representation on the Bar Council and in the inns, social events, and above all, support and friendship for members at all stages of their career. In recent months, we've lost 4 VPs, Harry Mitchell, Derek Wheatley, Bernard Kelly, all made enormous contributions to BACFI, particularly in the early years when employed barristers were regarded by many other practitioners as second-class barristers or not really barristers at all, a fallacy now largely dispelled by the sustained efforts of BACFI members over the last 55 years. I also have in mind the excellent contributions to BACFI of our administrators, including Sandra and your predecessors, without whom much less would have been achieved. Very best wishes, Austin. So that's a rather nice note, isn't it?
That's a very nice note, and I hope Austin gets better from whatever procedure he's had. Trouble is, as we all get older, or some of us get older, not the rest of you, procedures begin to loom large in one's life, which is not always entirely something to look forward to. So can you send our best wishes to Austin?
Yes, we'll do that. And I think the next Denning lecture should be a really interesting one. Grant can tell us a little bit about our speaker.
Yeah, so we have Mike Soso doing the Denning lecture this year. So as a bit of a change, we stepped away from the judiciary and politicians, and we have a senior in-house lawyer. He's effectively one of the, although I think they've just changed the names, he's one of the associate general counsels at BP and was in charge of all of the legal for downstream and gas. He's a passionate advocate, and I mean truly passionate advocate for diversity and for social mobility. And I think he has won the Pride Award and is regularly placed in the top 100 Pride people in the country. And you know, I think we're very lucky to get him. It's not his usual forum, but he's agreed to do it for us, and understands that, you know, he could get challenged, and he will be, I am sure, a bit controversial, and I am sure he will challenge us to do better in the field of diversity and inclusion. So I'm really looking forward to this year's lecture as something as a bit of a change. And as I say, I think it, you know, meets the challenge that Ian set us at the start of last year when he took over, to say that he was going to bring diversity into the centre of his chairmanship. You've spoken to him recently, Ian, so...
yes, I had a really good conversation. I know he's one of these people that he's very sociable, very easy to talk to, really on the button with all the different issues. The Denning lecture is going to look at how COVID-19 has impacted the legal profession and diversity, and the challenges that it will bring as well. So, you know, and he's originally from the United States, so I think it's really good to get an outside view, really. So I think it's a worth it. And this year we'll be doing the Denning lecture on this format, Teams, so that'll be a first as well. I will miss the dinners that we have at the ACO&A.
Oh, no dinner. We've got to have a dinner. Even if it's socially distanced, we can spread out down the street.
Well said, Patrick. We've got to be able to work it in somehow.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
150 Deliveroos.
Virtual dinner.
I must say the big plus, Ian, is we can start drinking during the lecture.
Yeah.
Please don't suggest that to Mike. I don't know where the lecture would go.
So yes, well, we'll all be cozy at home watching that one, so it should be good. So yes. And then I think we've got the student evening coming up in October, haven't we, Sandra? So that's a good one as well. And we've got some good speakers, including myself. But we've also got like Barry Harwood, who does a lot of coaching for pupillage interviews as well. So that should be a really good event as well. And we're planning our programme for next year as well. So still plenty to look forward to.
And what's also fantastic, Ian, I think it's worth pointing out that, you know, we're working closely with the Bar Council on the pupillage fair this year to try and help have some of the CV sessions and the consultations around pupillage applications, and BACFI members are stepping up to support that, which I think is a great example of the one bar. And just showing how even at the early stage, you know, what one is explaining to students and those coming through that there are other routes, and I think they're always grateful for that, and there's a lot we can add. So you know, there's two great initiatives in terms of both the BACFI student evening and that pupillage fair support.
Yeah, I think Rebecca Dix is speaking at the pupillage fair. Unfortunately, I'm doing advocacy training on the day, so I can't make it along. But it's a great initiative for us to get out there. Yeah, and of course, people like yourself, Patrick, get involved in the advocacy training, as we've mentioned as well. And I think we've also got, is it Sonia as well that does that? Oh, Amanda wants to put a hand up.
Hello. I just wanted to say, if anybody wants to help people with CVs at the pupillage fair, it's such a great thing to do. First of all, it's a really lovely thing to see all these people with really great experience and initiatives, but they just don't know how to make the best of their CV. So you really feel like you're helping them, and you can give them really great insights. So please do sign up to help with that.
Yes, yes, I think a number of our members are doing that. So thank you, Amanda. Yes. I think another initiative, which is quite a good one, I don't know if all of the inns are doing it, but Gray's, which I'm a bencher at, has got a sort of mentoring scheme in place, and they team you up with a somebody that you can give advice and support to. So I've put myself forward and have been teamed up with an FCA lawyer, so an employed bar lawyer, and I think it's a great idea. So if it's not at other inns, I'd recommend that people sort of plug that as well, because I think it's a good way to give support to employed barristers at the junior end of their career, and then try and force them to come across and join BACFI as well. Yes. Well, we're also trying to look at forming a student and young bar group within BACFI as well. So we're looking at that. And Charlotte Pope, who's on the Young Bar Committee, is going to look at that, because we think we're really good to try and get not just students, but also young barristers who are interested in developing a career in-house to join us, and they can get mentoring, education and support from us as well. So that's an initiative that we're looking at the moment.
It sounds very good, Ian.
Yeah, so I think we're doing quite it's amazing actually when you start to look at all the multiple things that we're doing, you know. So and the other good thing is that inns like, I mean, my own in Middle, we've formed a working group for the employed bar within our inn, which is part of the membership committee, and there'll be events to try and get employed barristers re-engage with their inns, and we're trying to look at initiatives to do that. And I know that Grays has been doing that, and Inner. So you know, so and what we're trying to do at BACFI is just kind of see what all the different inns are doing and try a bit of coordination as well. So yeah, so I think things are definitely happening.
Yeah, it's a very good idea, actually, bringing things together, because, you know, each inn swanning away on its own is not necessarily going to be aware of what the other inns are doing. I mean, there are some headline things like young barrister training that have crossed over each other, but all good ideas, quite frankly. I mean, I know I worry, and I think Patrick worries too, that there's an increasing amount of sort of cutthroat competition between the inns at the moment.
Yeah.
Because there are ludicrously a decreasing number of students coming through to the bar. The word has got around that we are difficult and that pupilages are scarce. And so once again, it's where the employed bar needs to bar. I mean, I've seen this happen in my lifetime, up and down, you know, in and out of employment, in and out of chambers, depending on the state of the economy and the state of the legal economy in particular. So at the moment, the bar is closing ranks because not everyone can make a living, and there's certainly not much of a living to be made at the criminal bar at the moment until things pick up again. So there's a lot of competition between the inn for who they get and the best students and so on, and that stops them sharing information, I think. So BACFI could be a conduit for that sort of thing, possibly even a confidential conduit, but to make sure that the soft skills and the good ideas are being shared rather than kept, you know, into some private hit by the under treasurers who think that they don't want to give Lincoln's Inn an advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, Patricia. No, I was thinking, and actually over the same lunch today with my friend, we were talking about a couple of the initiatives that are being run at the bar, and there have been a couple of commercial chambers who have actually sponsored criminal pupilages, basically because they're aware of how the criminal bar is struggling. And I wonder if there's something in that space that BACFI can also step into to explain what I personally always thought, and I know that a number of people on this call have tried to achieve, which is to see the employed bar as a place where you can move between the self-employed bar and the employed bar.
Or even do both, yeah.
Or do both, exactly. As I know we have a few dual practicing.
Dual practicing stuff or whatever.
And, you know, I just think that right now more than ever, the ingenuity that actually BACFI represents is required to help the whole bar survive. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be done. You know, and one or two of the inns are further on than others, obviously.
I'm just going to put the lights on.
Is he going to put the Christmas lights on? Oh, yes.
The BACFI lights.
Yes. The big switch on. Yes. So, so Peter, it's good to see you again. Peter's been to, I mean, you always come to all our events, and it's, I know that you enjoy them, don't you, as well? And who else have we got? Anybody else that hasn't spoken that wants to say a few words? Well,
is Lorinda still with us, or has she disappeared?
No, I'm still here.
Long.
Her camera's just gone off, yes.
No, it's my camera. This echo is driving me up the wall.
Oh, yes, I know. But it's good to see you, Lorinda.
Thank you.
And Cameron has a deeply impressive and very clean behind him. Lovely wall of cupboards. I wish I had storage like that.
Don't worry, I tidied up before I switched the camera off, so it's not usually like this for sure.
I think during this crisis, we've started to see people's houses, haven't we? As they
absolutely.
Yes, yes, it's quite amusing sometimes.
Oh yes, for the nosy, it's been absolutely wonderful, hasn't it? I keep getting up. I'm sorry about keeping getting up and shutting the bloody door, which the dogs open, and then I can hear the entire household. I live with 2 grandchildren and my son-in-law and my daughter, and so this house can be a bit chaotic at this time of night.
I can imagine. Right, well, it's 3 minutes to 7, so I'd just like to thank everybody for participating this evening. It's been lovely to see you all. I'm sorry that we couldn't do it as a real event, but hopefully next September we can meet in the House of Lords, and that should be a really wonderful dinner. We've done it for our 50th and it really was a beautiful evening. So we hope that we can all get together in the new year, and I'd like to thank Sandra for organising this evening, which has been, as usual, very smoothly done. I'd like to thank Amanda and Grant for their contributions, and lovely to see you, Tricia, and everybody on the call tonight. So I wish you all a lovely weekend, and a final toast to BACFI.
Yeah, cheers.
Have a great weekend.
Cheers.
Thank you. Have a lovely weekend.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Congratulations to Helen.
Yes.
Take care, everyone. Helen.
Absolutely.
And Ian, keep on that outfit for the rest of the night. You must.
Oh yes, I think you should have a candlelit dinner now.
You cannot get changed.
I believe we're having pizza later.
Oh, that's even better. You've got to collect it from the door like that.
Yes.
All right, box set of The Godfather then.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, have a great evening and a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye.